Welcome back to another channel of Living in Columbus, Ohio. And today we're going to talk about moving to Ohio and what you need to know. Let's get after it. Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Brad Winter, and if this is your first time to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Regardless, if you haven't before done this, please do this. Tap on that subscribe button below. Click on the bell, give us a like, drop a comment, because that's going to notify everyone when we do a new video. And in these videos, we talk about everything that you need to know about living in the Columbus metro and surrounding areas. Now, I am also a licensed real estate agent in the state of Ohio, and as much as I love doing these videos for you guys, I would love nothing more to help you with your real estate needs. So if you're thinking about making a move, if you're already relocating, if you already live here and you need help buying or selling a home, make sure you give me a call, shoot me a text, fire off an email, because I'm going to have your back when it comes to all things Columbus and the surrounding areas. So why move to Ohio? Well, I think we got to put some things into context, I guess, or some framework about Ohio. So I don't know if many people know this, but we are the birthplace of aviation. We are home to 8 U.S. presidents. We have some historic cities in Cincinnati and Columbus and Cleveland and Toledo and Youngstown. And, you know, we're kind of this Midwest sleeping gem. And a lot of people that move here, they don't realize how great of a state it is until they actually get here. Some other things to consider why you're moving to Ohio is it is a relatively affordable state still compared to a lot of other places in the country. You get the benefits of having 4 different seasons. And yes, the spring can get kind of gloomy, and in the winter it can get kind of dark and cold and all those things, but we have the most beautiful falls you will ever find. And overall, it is kind of a awesome thing to experience 4 different seasons. And I find that a lot of my clients that relocate here really enjoy the change of pace and the change of just weather that they get by living in Ohio. So if you're somebody that wants to settle down and raise a family, if you want to expand your career, or maybe you're even thinking about retirement and you have family that's in the Midwest and you don't want to be a snowbird and head to the South, then Ohio is going to be an amazing place for you. Some other reasons that you might want to consider moving to Ohio is depending on where you're at, what you pay for a home might not afford you that big of a house or that much land. But coming to Ohio, you are going to more than likely, again, depending on where you're coming from, be able to buy a much larger home for yourself or you and your family compared to some other major cities and states that a lot of people are living in right now. So that's a huge reason why people do relocate here, is flat out the housing price, the market, and the bang for your buck on what you're getting trumps a lot of these areas. Another amazing thing why people move to Ohio is it's not that big of a state to travel. So if you want to live in Cincinnati and you want to go to Cleveland to see an Indians game or a Browns game or watch the Cavs or go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, then it's only, 3.5, 4 hour drive, which is relatively easy to do for a day trip. If you live in Columbus, you are pretty much dead center of the entire state. And so you can get to Toledo, Cincinnati, Cleveland in 2 hours, Youngstown in 2 hours, Pittsburgh in 3 hours. The centralized nature of the state allows traveling to be relatively easy. And this is something that a lot of people that move here that I work with, they can't believe it. They can essentially be, sort of in the middle of the country, and they can get to DC in 6 hours, Nashville in 5, Chicago in 5, Detroit in 3, Pittsburgh in 3, like I mentioned earlier. And so they can take these kind of long weekend trips and they don't have to get on an airplane if they don't want to. And so it's really set up for people that love the travel, but also in industry, it makes logistics, kind of a hub for Columbus and for these manufacturers to come set up because they can ship product throughout the country relatively easy. So again, if you're somebody that wants this easy kind of style of living, affordability, and just overall be around that Midwest vibe, this is a place you want to consider moving. Number 2 of moving to Ohio and what you need to know, let's talk about some pros and some cons. Pros, we've talked about it earlier, affordability, centralized location, to a lot of different major U.S. cities, housing, the seasons I think is a pro, but let's talk about some cons. And let's just get real about this is, we do have the 4 seasons and not everybody loves that. So we can certainly say that is a con. The winters can get, relatively cold. It can be pretty gloomy for a large portion of the winter and spring months. And so, if you're somebody that loves sun, needs sun, this might not be the place for you. It really just kind of depends. As far as recreation is concerned, this isn't a mountain state where you have beautiful hiking trails and skiing available to you, or we're not near an ocean or a bunch of lakes. So that is a con as well that I know a lot of people wish that we had, right? Ohio, we're relatively flat state. We have the Great Lakes above us in the north, and we have some beautiful kind of historic rivers that run through the state, but we're not going to have a lot of those wonderful lakes that you see out west, or the hiking that's available, or even mountain biking trails, things like that. We have it. It's just going to be at a much smaller, toned down scale compared to some other places. Another con is our sports teams. They're all over the map. For a long time, the Bengals and the Browns and the Reds, they were brutal. And now, the Bengals are definitely peaking and they're going to the playoffs, the Super Bowl recently. So, props to the Bengals. Reds are still bad. The Indians, hey, they're exciting I feel like every 3 years they're super exciting and they got to dump all their players, start all over. The Browns, the factory of sadness. I'm a Browns fan. They break my heart all the time. Just can never figure it out. We don't have these, these consistent sports teams, in the state, except for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I mean, listen, I'll probably just move to Ohio just to watch them and be around the Buckeye fans, but that's just me. But again, as far as legacy sports teams, we've got great history here with the Browns and the Bengals and the Reds, the Indians. Those are that's historic teams, but they're just not that consistent. They can suck, it can happen like that. So something to be aware of. It's kind of a con. Another con or pro, I guess it depends on what you think, is Ohio is a battleground state for elections. Anybody that follows politics, you have been taught this since, your history classes back in high school. This is a fierce state for the red, for the blue, and you are going to get bombarded with calls, with mailers, with text messages around, the election time. When things really heat up here, it can be super annoying. Now, I can appreciate, Ohio being a battleground state. It's an important state, not only for the outcome of the presidency, but just, in the country as well. I feel like, we are a really linchpin of the country when it comes to a lot of things with manufacturing, healthcare, tech, all these things that are really growing in the state of Ohio can really have an effect on the rest of the country. So again, when it comes to election time, if you're not into all that stuff, I would just not look at your phone and email for a while, because that could definitely be a con for a lot of people. I've heard that numerous times, so something to be aware of. Another thing that you need to know about moving to Ohio is, where should you live? And I think it really comes down to a few things. If you're not being relocated for work, so if you're moving here by choice, then I think you need to think of, your price point, your budget, all those things, but also what do you want out of living here? We have big metro cities such as Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati, and I'm in Columbus here. And so if you want that lifestyle of living in a city, Or if you want to be close, in a suburb that is close to those cities, then you might want to live in those areas. But the cool thing about Ohio is we have so much open land still. We have farmland. We have, wooded areas that you can buy land and build a home or whatever that looks like. So I think for you, if you're thinking about moving here, you got to think about what do you want out of your life? If you have a family, what do you want them to experience, and then make the decision. The cool thing is, I think we have a very diverse state where you can pretty much get whatever you want when it comes to where you want to live. So you may be asking yourself, when should I move to Ohio? Well, from a real estate perspective, the hot months, when it's quote unquote selling season, is going to be that April to June timeframe. So if you are moving then, or you're looking to move then, you are going to be in prime selling season. So you're going to have a lot of buyers out there on the market. The inventory right now in 2023 still is not great. So that means that you are going to be competing against a lot of other buyers and having to do, over ask and appraisal gap coverage and a lot of these things that have been going on for the last couple of years. You're definitely going to have to do those things. So, hopefully if you're watching this video and you're thinking about making a move now, kind of understand what to expect. And as you make the move, hopefully inventory keeps creeping up a little bit. We've sort of been seeing that here and there in 2023. But, a good strategy could be to wait until winter to move. Now, it's not great. It's freezing cold, and that means we got to, get you out and see the houses. And if you don't like the cold, that might not work. Or moving in the wintertime isn't always ideal because of the elements. But there is some strategy to, waiting until the winter time to try to find a house, because there's going to be more than likely less buyers out there. People don't like to shop for houses in the wintertime. People are burned out from the year before. You got the holidays. You have all these things that buyers are going through. So your competition could be a little less. Now, on the flip side, the inventory more than likely will be a lot less because, again, people aren't looking to move in the wintertime unless they absolutely have to. So you just got to figure out, what's best for your lifestyle and what approach that you want to take. Either way, I'm here to help you out. Another thing that you need to consider when moving to Ohio is how to make the move, right? And something that a lot of people that I have worked with have found very helpful is they watch a video like this. They contact the local realtor who's doing these videos. So if you're moving to Columbus, contact me. If you're moving to Cincinnati or Cleveland or even Toledo, there's other realtors that have these types of channels that you can get a hold of. You can learn about the areas. You can ask them questions, about maybe the schools, about the economy, the local economy. What's the real estate market like? You can ask them all these types of questions, and then you can start to kind of develop, some sort of plan to make your move. Now, another thing we can do is if you don't have a realtor back home where you're going to sell your house, if you have one to sell, that is, we can help navigate that as well. We can help navigate moving companies and, all the different relocation services. We have contractors. So if you find a house and you need work done before you move, we can kind of help navigate, those schedules and get that work done. But a lot of people also ask when they should get here if they have kids to start the next school year. And my answer is always, as soon as they're out of school at their other place, if you haven't already started looking prior, I would say you need to get in the May, June, July, July at the latest time frame to come and try to find a house. Because schools are going to start into July, early August. So you want to be here. You want to get settled. You don't want to move and then all of a sudden your kids have got to start school. So there's something to be said for starting earlier in the spring and then, being able to be here, sometime in the summer to kind of get settled. Also, if you don't have a family and you maybe aren't flying here to look at houses, we do a lot of FaceTime tours. There's 3D tours out there as well that you can do with particular listings that have that service. So there is those options as well. We live in such a tech kind of this tech world with real estate where a lot of things can be done virtually if you feel comfortable looking at properties and buying properties by not physically being in them. Another strategy when it comes to, moving to Ohio, two things is if you don't want to fight somebody on the open market for the house, doing new construction could be an absolute wonderful way to go. And we can help facilitate, those things. But also, don't wait to sell your house when you're ready to buy a house unless you're able to. A lot of people wait till the last minute to sell their home. Well, maybe you need to sell your home before you could actually buy your next home. So there is this dance that we have to do in order to make things happen. And that's where you rely on a professional like myself to help you kind of navigate those time frames and make sure that everything lines up perfectly for your arrival in our great state. So there you have it. Those are some things that you need to know about moving to Ohio, some tips directly from me. I hope that was helpful. If you're thinking about making a move specifically to the Columbus metro or surrounding areas, make sure you give me a call, shoot me a text, fire off an email, whatever you got to do. Make sure you do it because I'm going to have your back when it comes to all things about our wonderful city and surrounding areas. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Living in Columbus.